What you feel like you can't do, that is what you should be doing. A lot of times, what we fear the most is what plagues us the most. So if you fear failure, that is what is going to plague you the most. So stand up from where you are and actually just move on to do what you intend to do. A lot of people actually feel like because most people are actually just starting podcasts and starting YouTube channels that they don't want to actually go with that bandwagon. But the thing here now is everyone might have the same message, but the way you pass on that message to your audience, only you can do it. So there are certain people who are out there waiting to hear your voice, waiting to be encouraged by that particular video, waiting to see that particular product line released to actually patronize that line. What is that voice in your head that actually makes you feel inadequate? What is that voice that amplifies your insecurities? What is that voice that tells you you can't achieve what you intend to achieve? What is that voice in your head that actually makes you feel like you can't speak eloquently enough? What is that voice in your head that actually makes you feel like you can't achieve that great height? You can't have that studio, you can't have that car, you can't have that house. You can't actually present your ideas to a board and have it approved. What is that voice in your head that makes you feel like you're not good enough to actually attain that feat that you want to achieve? That is the voice of fear. And what fear does is that fear stands in between us and our destiny. Fear stands in between us and where we want to be. So if you look at your life and you look at where you want to go to, actually the distance between you and where you want to be, or the place where you're going to, or your place in destiny, is actually fear. That's the distance between where you are right now and what you want to do. So why not just silence that voice of fear and take that bold step into starting that business? Take that bold step into starting up that brand. Take that bold step into actually applying for that visa. Take that bold step to starting your YouTube channel, to starting your podcast. A lot of people actually feel like because most people are actually just starting podcasts and starting YouTube channels that they don't want to actually go with that bandwagon. But the thing here now is everyone might have the same message, but the way you pass on that message to your audience, only you can do it. So there are certain people who are out there waiting to hear your voice, waiting to be encouraged by that particular video, waiting to see that particular product line released to actually patronize that line. So it is important for you to actually silence that voice of fear and just take that bold step. We are plagued most times with fear because we feel like we are inadequate, we are insecure about things that we are not perfect at. We look at ourselves and we look at people who we want to be like, and we just look at it that there's so much difference between this person that I want to be and who I am now. But what I want to tell you today is that whoever you aspire to be like, they have certain insecurities that you may have. In fact, they might have more insecurities than you, but the fact is they actually just took life, they took matters into their hands and conquered fear. They actually just stood firm and then silenced that voice of fear in their head. They took that bold step to start that business. They took that bold step to actually invent that product. They took that bold step to actually just start that channel and just do that thing. So if they had not taken that bold step, they would have deprived the world from seeing the world through their lens. So it is important for you to know that for you to actually achieve destiny, for you to actually achieve that feat, achieve that height that you want to achieve, you first have to overcome fear. That voice of fear that keeps ringing in your head and makes you think that you can't achieve what you want to achieve. First of all, just take that first step to starting, and even though you start afraid, even though you start scared, even though you start not knowing what to do or not knowing how to fully execute that idea, first start. Most people stress about even starting something before they even start it, and they eventually figure out that that idea they did not get to start it. What are the ideas that you've looked at and you've thought about for years now, and those ideas they've only managed to just be on paper, or rather be in your head? You've only managed to imagine those ideas come to life in your head, but you have not taken that bold step to actually just start that particular idea, to start that particular brand, to start that product line. if you refuse to start it, best believe that the universe is not going to leave anything void. So someone else somewhere is going to pick up that idea, and the person might even execute it better than you. So it is very important for you to actually just beat that voice of fear. What stands in between the you of now and you fulfilling destiny is fear. The distance between you and your destiny is actually fear. So why not just beat that voice of fear? Imagine if Thomas Edison was scared of actually making mistakes, he would never have invented the light bulb. If Thomas Edison was actually afraid to try, he would have never been able to move on to be one of the inventors or even the inventors of light bulb or electricity. First of all, you have to start with that idea. You can start unrefined, you can start raw. Actually, everything in its raw form would actually just give room for growth, so people can actually see from when you started from and where you are actually. So start that idea, start that business, go and apply for that visa, go and present your ideas to that board. Actually just face your fears. What you feel like you can't do, that is what you should be doing. A lot of times what we fear the most is what plagues us the most. So if you fear failure, that is what is going to plague you the most. So stand up from where you are and actually just move on to do what you intend to do. History only rewards those who actually pioneer ideas. So if you fear that the idea you actually want to execute, you're the first at it, then you're doing the right thing. Actually just move at it, go at it, start. First of all, if you don't believe in that idea, no one is going to help you believe in that idea. So if you have faith in your idea, actually just start with it and run with it. People are going to come along the way who believe in that idea and who are going to help you and just take that level, take that vision and then execute it excellently well. You cannot afford to not try. The pain of not even trying is worse than the pain of actually trying and failing. Here's what it is. If you actually try and you fail, you actually fail forward. You pick yourself up, you learn from your mistakes and actually learn to make better choices and then excel at that particular idea. But then if you don't actually just start with that idea, if you don't even try at all, you would never know what could have been. The idea of what could have been, the idea of what if I had tried this particular idea, if I had tried this particular product, if I had taken this bold step, what could have been? That is a far worse feeling than actually trying and failing. The thing is, if you actually fail, you learn from your failures, and for every failure, you get close to success. I never in a million years actually thought that I could sit in front of a camera and speak to a camera or speak in front of people in workshops, but then I could have never known if I did not try. I would never know if I did not try. And I've gone to several workshops, I've spoken to different audience, and then I've had people come to meet me and actually just say things like, oh, we actually enjoyed the way you spoke to us, we actually enjoyed the ideas you shared with us, we enjoyed your perspective on things. Guess what? Those people would never have been impacted by the knowledge that was put out when I spoke to them. So first of all, take that bold step. I realized that for a long time I let that voice of fear actually amplify in my head, and I made myself think that I could not speak in front of people. I made myself feel like I was not eloquent enough to actually sit in front of a camera and actually just communicate my ideas to the world. But guess what? I tried. The thing is, I started with so much fear. Even before this particular video, I started with so much fear, and then this is me actually facing my fears, because one thing you would never catch me doing naturally is actually just standing in front of people to talk. But for heights that I want to achieve in my career, I discovered that I would actually have to stay in front of people, stand in front of cameras, and actually just communicate my ideas, communicate my views on the world and things that affect us. So first of all, I am facing my fears by actually making these videos. Don't wait for that voice of fear to be completely gone before you actually start, because guess what? It will never go, because you would actually have more fears as you continue to encounter, or as you continue to grow in heights in your career, in your business, and even in destiny. So actually just take that bold step. That voice would never be silent in your head. You can take that bold step. You can actually achieve that dream that you want to achieve. But first of all, take that bold step. Start that podcast, start that YouTube channel, apply for that visa, go and present your ideas to the board, go and present your ideas to investors. And even though you actually get a no, even though you actually get refused, try again. What this helps to do is that you believe more in that idea. You actually look for better ways to actually present that ideas. And guess what? What if the next presentation that you have is when your idea is going to be received by those investors and funding is going to be released for that business, that product, whatever it is that you want to do? So if you don't try, how would you know? If you don't try, how would you actually discover the heights or the limits to which you can reach in life? So guess what? The only limits we have in life are the ones we place on ourselves. So if you put a benchmark on yourself that you can't actually just achieve that idea, if you put a limit to yourself and you tell yourself that you can't actually achieve that goal, you would never achieve that goal. But guess what? A lot of people have had that particular limit and they've broken past that limit and they are even achieving far greater things. With every height of success comes more obstacles. So that voice of fear is not going anywhere. That voice of fear is actually going to remain. But what can you do to actually suppress that voice of fear? Is actually taking that bold step in faith. Trust me, you would never know unless you try. You would never know unless you try. So first of all, take that bold step and try. Take that bold step in believing in that dream, believing in that vision, and just starting out. You can start out crappy. Your first videos might be very crappy. Your first videos might not look as good. Your first videos might not have you being eloquent. But why not just try? With time, you would see growth, and that would even bring people on your journey to see how much you have grown over the years. Looking at it in hindsight, you will discover that the fears you actually had a couple of years ago, you would discover that those fears were actually not necessary. And 10 years to 30 years from now, you will discover that the fears you have right now are actually not necessary. You will discover that the fears you have right now were only a shadow that you could have just surpassed and move forward to doing what you intended to do. But if we limit ourselves by amplifying that voice of fear, guess what? In 30 years from now, you will remain the same. In 30 years from now, that idea will remain an idea and it would not have materialized. If you take that bold step, you will discover that your life will change and you would achieve far greater results. Well, the first step to actually suppressing the voice of fear is by taking that first step. Taking that first step, even though you are scared. Taking that first step, even though you have not figured out how to fully execute that idea. Taking that first step, even though you don't have complete funding for the idea. Taking that first step, even though you know that this idea, not a lot of people believe in this idea, it does not align with popular opinion. But then running with that idea and starting out would actually just suppress that voice of fear. And the second step to actually suppressing that voice of fear in your head is actually just having faith in your idea. No one is going to believe in your idea more than you who has the idea. No one is actually going to believe your idea more than you. No one is going to run with your idea more than you who has that idea. So why not believe so much in your idea? Believe so much in what you want to do. Have faith so much in that business, that idea, that business plan that you have going on. Then start with it. History doesn't reward people who don't even care to try. History rewards people who dare to try. So actually today, dare to try that business. Actually take that first bold step and begin with that idea. History only rewards pace setters. So be that pace setter. Believe in your idea and run with it. And you never know what will happen. You never know if that next meeting, you never know if that next content that you're about to put out is what is going to change your life. So actually just run with your ideas. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.